Canada has a new Prime Minister candidate. Mark Carney, a former central banker and an economist, has been elected as the leader of the Liberal Party, replacing Justin Trudeau. He steps in at a time of historic tensions, with fears of trade war brewing between Canada and its biggest trading partner, the United States. So let's take a look at who Mark Carney is and what does his leadership mean for Canada's future. Carney isn't your typical politician born in the Northwest Territories and raised in Alberta. He built his career in the world of finance. A Harvard and Oxford graduate, he spent over a decade at Goldman Sachs before moving into central banking. In 2008, as the global financial crisis hit, he took charge of the Bank of Canada, making quick decisions that helped the country to avoid the worst of the economic downturns. In 2013, he became the governor of the Bank of England, steering the UK through Brexit. Now he is making his political debut at the very top, leading the Liberal Party into an election that could decide Canada's economic and political future. But while Carney brings economic expertise, his lack of political experience is raising questions. Unlike his predecessor, Justin Trudeau, Carney has never run for office before. Until now, he's been more of an advisor, working behind the scenes on policy. His leadership campaign focused on key promises: cutting government spending, investing in housing, diversifying trade partners, and temporarily capping immigration. He is also a strong proponent of private sector-driven climate action. But it hasn't taken long for his opponent to sharpen their attacks. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has been quick to tie Carney to Trudeau's unpopular policies, branding him as Carbon Tax Carney for his past support of the Liberals. Carbon pricing plan, something Carney has now promised to scrap. There's also controversy over his time at Brookfield Asset Management, a firm that moved its headquarters from Toronto to New York while Carney was involved. The Conservative accuses him of taking jobs away from Canadians. Carney denies having any role in the decision. And now let's talk about the biggest challenge facing Canada right now: its relationship with the United States. Earlier this month, United States President Donald Trump imposed steep tariffs on Canadian goods, setting the stage for a potential trade war. For many Canadians, this crisis has brought a renewed sense of nationalism and a demand for steady leadership. Interestingly, Carney's arrival has just given Liberals a boost. Just weeks ago, they were trailing the Conservatives by massive 26 points. Now the race is tightening, with some polls suggesting Carney is seen as more capable of handling Trump than Poilievre. But is that enough? The big question is whether Canadians are willing to give the Liberals another chance after almost a decade in power. Historically, governments don't last much longer than that. Carney needs to prove that he's not just Trudeau 2.0. With the federal election expected later this year, Carney has little time to define himself outside of Trudeau's shadow. Can he convince Canadians that he's the right leader for the moment? Or will voters decide it's time for a complete change? Stay with us as we continue to report on Canadian elections. Don't forget to subscribe DawnNews English.